teach the middle stuff after what happened to him in Vegas?
Do what? No, I don't probably forget halfway through. Yeah, I still have some issues from that. Kind of a combination session of mental as well as physical aspects to hitting. And we like to, as Bob said, we like to do this very soon. We used to do this a little bit later on, and we got some good feedback. And by the way, we want your feedback. You can do it today, tomorrow, and next day, or you can wait till the end. But any kind of comments that you have, feel free to email me, Bob, and let us know. You know, if there's something you think we can do better, or something that really hit home with you that you thought we did well on, feel free throughout the whole weekend to do that. And we would like an email instead of you just telling us. I mean, you can always pat us in the back and try to get out of push-ups. That works. But if nothing else, at least at the end of the camp, if you guys would take a few minutes and just send us back a little feedback on what you've seen and heard. Coach Bob?
All right, this is the teaching portion. I'm telling you, some camps are all about swing, 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 and those are great. We want to get our reps in, but learning the game and learning the common flaws and educating yourself on it is very important. I've been coaching baseball for a long time, 30 years now, and I don't like stupid baseball players, and I tell my kids that. I don't like stupid baseball players. So my goal as a teacher is to educate a little bit about the swing and the common flaws and the science of the swing. Ted Williams was one of the greatest hitters that ever lived, and you'd be amazed at how smart he was. He didn't have great eye-hand coordination only. He was a very smart hitter, and he'd be able to fix himself whenever things started to go bad. He was his own hitting instructor. And when I went for my master's degree at the University of North Florida a long time ago, they allowed me to pick a few topics as research papers as part of my master's degree. So I did a research project on the throwing shoulder, and we'll talk more about that on Sunday, the anatomy of the shoulder and the actions, but I also got to do a biomechanical analysis of the swing. The preparation phase, the acceleration phase, and the deceleration phase. Every muscle, every action, and every joint that is used throughout the swing, all right? But what it really did is it explained the science of the game to me, and it was really neat, all right? And then what I've done over the years, I've coached everything from 6-year-olds, which next week we have a camp from 6-year-olds to 12-year-olds, December 27th through the 30th. So we'll be teaching the little kids, 7 to 12-year-olds. I've taught at the travel ball level. I'm now teaching at the high school level at the end of my coaching career, and I coached college baseball for 23 years. All right, so and then we do this with the older folks. So I have taught at every level, and the coolest thing about teaching the game of baseball is you've got to be able to explain it so the people listening understand it. All right? So I'm going to use some of the simple terms that we use with the kids, but they're very scientific. All right? And then I'm going to explain the science to it a little bit. So I enjoy the science of the game. All right? I'm no Ted Williams, but I do appreciate that, and I do study the game a little bit and have spent some time with it. So there's book smarts, and then there's just being on the field and doing this great game. We learn from each other. I've had a few great coaches along the way, and all you want to do as a hitter is you want to take one or two things from us that make you better. All right? I've learned from several different coaches. I tell people we're all a bunch of mutts. We're a bunch of mutts when it comes to learning baseball and softball. We get a little from this coach and a little from that coach and a little and then we make what we are today. So hopefully this weekend we're able to teach you a few things, all right, that'll help you change your swing and change your ability, and then you'll find yourself with a teammate helping him out. All right, we tell the Steve Carlton story. Steve Carlton was a pretty good left-handed pitcher back in the day with the Phillies, and he was in the bullpen one day, and he was just an average pitcher at the time, and a new guy got called up, and he's throwing in the bullpen. So Steve Carlton asked the young guy, he says, how do you hold that slider? So the kid showed Steve Carlton a new grip on the slider. And from that day on, he became one of the best left-handed pitchers that ever played the game because of a little adjustment that he made from a teammate. All right, and that happens sometimes. You don't want to impose your will on your teammates, you know, I went to camp, now I know everything. You don't want to do that.
Yeah, Richie, don't do that.
But there are times, though, there are times where you can help. So that's what we're here to do, is help you guys. We've been doing this long enough that we see some of the same common flaws. All right, so we want to nip them at the buds right now. So we're going to talk about some of the most common flaws in the game. I can read it from there. Thank you, though. The first one is the stride, and I'm going to start from the ground and work up. There's a couple body parts. All right, and I'm going to ask you to repeat after me sometimes, because I don't want you getting stale standing there falling asleep while you're listening to me. The body parts that are most important to us in hitting is the feet, the hips, the hands, and the head. All right, feet, hips, hands, head, and they actually work kind of in that order. All right, and I'll get to the second point in a minute, but here we go. The stride. Just now, I took a few notes in the first round. I know I wasn't supposed to, but I did. And there's maybe 3 people that we need to fix the stride on. All right, the stride is overrated in the game of softball. It's overrated. The worst thing about the stride is it does more damage than it does good. You understand that? Years ago, the Doyles, Brian and Denny Doyle, stationed out of Orlando, they started teaching no stride in baseball. They just taught people no stride. Just pick your heel up, put it back down. And what their concept was is the stride was getting people in trouble, especially in baseball when the ball's going a little bit faster. If you get your foot down late, your whole swing is late. All right, so that's one of the problems with the stride, is getting it down too late. That's with the fast stuff. But some of the problems with us in softball, all right? The first problem is when people start diving in, okay? They step here. If you step here, what that does is that locks your hips out. Now your hips can only get this far, and if you do dive in, now your swing becomes all upper body. You lose out on some of the rotation, okay? So stepping in too far is not a good thing. It locks the hips, all right? How about this one? Stepping out. What does that do to you?
Opens you up.
It causes your front side to open up early, all right? And it changes your swing plane. If you step over here, now your swing plane is here. And the only pitch you're gonna hit good is the inside pitch. If you try to hit the outside pitch, you're gonna hit it off the end of your bat, because you just shortened your bat by flying open, okay? So the bailing out stride will get you in trouble there. All right, how about this one? Everything looks good, and then we go here. The overstride, okay? How does that affect us? Anybody?
Leaning's got no hips.
You hit under the ball.
Well, it's harder to rotate when your feet are farther apart, okay? But also, the eyes are the window to the soul. The eyes are the window to the brain, all right? Our eyes are important, and we're gonna talk about the head in just a second. The eyes are important because they're taking all the data in. The height of the pitch, the speed of the pitch, the location of the pitch, all right? Your eyes are taking in the data, the brain processes it, and then the brain does what? Tells the hands where to go. And it all happens so fast. It's really cool. All right, it's that eye-hand coordination. It happens. Some of us the brain is great. The eyes and the brain work real well together. Others, it's not so good. But if you overstride, your head starts here. All right, picture my level. Now look where it goes. Not only did it go forward, but it also went down. So if your head's moving, your eyes are moving. If your eyes are moving, what's happening to the ball? It's moving. It's changing the whole data that's coming in. So in hitting, we want to keep our head still. We want to keep our head still. So when we overstride, it causes our head to move, all right? So keep that in mind. The best stride, and we're going to hit a little bit, maybe in just a little bit. I'll even show you, I'll even take a few swings with no stride at all and show you how far we can still hit it, all right? That goes into my next point. Here's some science, ready? Repeat after me. 85% of your potential energy
85% of your potential energy
comes from the rotation of the body.
comes from the rotation of the body.
Okay? 15% of your potential energy
15% of your potential
comes
energy
from the forward movement of the body.
comes from the forward movement of the body.
Which one's more important?
85%.
There's 2 types of motion. That one's called rotary motion. The other one's called linear motion. Rotary motion moves energy up and down. Linear motion moves energy horizontal. Okay? 85% of our potential energy comes from the rotation of the body. That is much more important than jumping at the ball, than the forward thrust, the linear motion, okay? You with me on that?
Yep.
So if we had to work on one versus the other, it would be spinning. Ready? Here's science for the kids. Repeat after me. The faster you spin,
Faster you spin,
farther it goes.
farther it goes.
Wow, that's pretty profound, isn't it? But that's a scientific principle. Why is that scientific? Because I just shared with you that 85% of your potential energy comes from the rotation of the body. Got it? All right. So we need to focus more on rotating. The faster we spin, the farther it goes. And if you watch some of the real good hitters, they get after it. Okay. So how do we rotate? How do we spin on the ball? The hips are very important on it. All right. One of the big things as a coach that I can watch. Here's a swing without the hips. Okay. I want you to look at this. I want you to look at my back foot, my right toe. It sounds like a good swing. It's really not real bad. All right. Did you notice that one? Now watch that foot. Ready? All right. What did I do?
Turned it.
I rotated. It's as a coach or a fellow teammate, it's real easy to see the people that don't use their hips. It's real easy to see because the right hip and the right toe are directly connected.
Try rotating without moving that onto the toe. It don't happen.
All right, you ready for the sign? Here's how we teach it. Squish the bug. Squish the bug. We tell the kids there's a big roach under your right foot. I want you to squish it. Squish the bug. Or spin on your back toe. It's a scientific principle. All right? If you're not doing that, then you're hitting with all upper body. Some guys are strong enough to hit with all upper body, but you're losing potential energy, aren't you? Got it? So the biggest thing we can look at is that back toe. There's some hitters that'll actually walk through their swing. They rotate so much they come out of that sucker and they'll do that.
Yeah.
All right? Is that good? Sure it is.
They're just spinning like
Right.
crazy.
Man, did we rotate on that one? We sure did. All right. So coming out of it's okay, and what happens really on that after you come out of it? That first step, that right foot is on its way to first base anyway. But you want to do it under control and with balance. Okay. Everybody with me on that?
Yeah.
All right. So we just talked about the feet. Feet are very important. You just want to pick it up and put it down. You'll see some hitters in softball. You're able to do this. All right. It's a pretty cool thing. When we take that left foot off that front foot off the ground, all we're really doing is getting our weight back. And that's where we want to start. We want to start with our weight back. And then as that foot goes forward, all right, what really has to happen here is that front foot, we have to hit off of a firm front side because we don't want that energy going, we don't want too much linear. Here's really what happens. We start with our energy here. It moves to the front leg, and then it moves up the front leg. All right? We get our energy from the ground. We get all of our energy from the ground, the resistance against the ground. That's why the batter's box gets torn up, because we're creating energy but from the friction and the resistance against the ground. All right? Try to hit on a slippery surface. Try to hit on ice. It ain't going anywhere because you're losing that energy from the ground, the friction against the ground. That's where it starts from. All right? So that linear motion, you're actually going to go from the back foot to the front foot. And what we want to do is we want your energy to start moving forward, and then as that front foot gets down, it stops the forward motion and starts moving it up the body. Picture running into a wall. You've seen people do it. They'll go running, they'll hit the wall, and then where's their energy take them?
Back.
Up.
Up.
Takes them up the wall, and then they do a backflip off of the wall, some crazy stuff. Or picture a car running into a wall. Once it starts to crumble up. The back end comes off the ground. And the energy, once it can't move forward anymore, it starts moving up. That's exactly what we want it to do. So we want a little bit of linear. We do want to push a little bit from our back foot to our front foot. And then the front foot stops it. What we don't want is this. You know what I mean? You don't want that bent front knee out there. Then all your energy did that. And you weren't able to rotate as much. So we want to get the front foot down, and then once it goes, then it's going to start working. It starts working up the inside of this leg. The hips then rotate to get us on a good swing plane and that impact area out in front, all right? And then the hands will come through, and then there's a little centrifugal force that applies where the energy then moves out the arms to the end of the bat, okay?
It sounds like you're saying that this is nothing but a trigger for whomever. If this is your trigger or this is your trigger, it doesn't matter.
Right.
One inch or all the way up.
Exactly.
Okay.
All right. Here's another expression. Ready? Repeat after me. Nothing important in hitting happens
Nothing important in hitting happens
until the front foot hits the ground.
until the front foot hits the ground.
All right? It's true. Because why? We just explained it to you. Because we get our energy from where?
The ground.
The ground. You got to have both feet on the ground. All right? Nothing important happens in hitting until our front foot hits the ground. That explains why you'll see batting stances like this. You'll see batting stances like this. There was a guy in the big leagues that turned his back to the pitcher. All right? You'll see this. Back in the day, we had Willie Stargell that would, do his thing. You had Joe Morgan who would do his little, you had Rod Carew who had the flat bat. All right? Cal Ripken changed his stance about 50 times. He had a new stance every week. So the stance isn't real important, is it? You can stand any way you want. You can, if your eyesight isn't real good in your front eye and you can open up your stance. You can do this. But watch, all the great hitters, watch where they are when? Watch where they are when their front foot hits the ground. That's the commonality of it all. You can start here, but when it's time to go, let me when it's time to go, where am I when my front foot hits the ground? You can start closed, where am I when my front foot hits the ground? Okay? Or you can go here. All right? But where am I when my front foot hits the ground?
A good when you see Roger and myself and Bob hit, you'll see some differences in exactly what Bob's talking about. Hopefully you'll see the similarities of when our foot hits the ground, everything else happens very similar. You'll see rotation, you'll see hands out front, you'll see eye on ball, and the things we'll talk about later. So if we do see something in a stance though, and that's why a few of you have asked me about that already, if we see something in a stance that's kind of contributing to improper technique, we might ask you to change a little something in a stance because it can be helpful. But in echoing what Bob said, Bob did a thing one time where he had his back to me when I pitched, and I would tell him when I pitched, and I threw the ball, he would turn around, and he hit probably 8 out of 10 balls, pretty good. Okay, that's a over exaggeration, but you'll see that's why we don't try to teach everybody to do exactly what we do. We're going to look at what you have, and we're going to modify it to make it to where it's most successful for you.
You have to be comfortable in the box.
Yes.
Stride, very often the pitch will dictate the stride.
That can be.
You know,
To a
because
certain
it's gonna-
degree.
If it's a little outside, you're going to have to go out this way. A little inside, you have to come this way for it.
A lot lesser than what you think.
Yes.
Yeah.
You don't want to get into that
You'll
habit.
learn that. You're going to learn about that. We agree to a minor point.
Most of that
Still
adjustment
getting
is really
outside
made
ball.
by the hands. When you're getting out front, we all want to hit, every pitch we want to hit, it's called the hitting zone. Whether I go to right field, center field, I want to hit the pitch really at the same spot or very close to the hitting zone. You're going to go backside, you're going to let it travel a little bit, but you're just going to get the hands out in front more. Your base foundation, like a home, a good strong structure is going to show the rest of what you have above. So it's really adjustments a lot of with your hands.
I'm gonna talk about the hitting zone here in a minute when Bob's done. So.
All right, so now we've covered the feet and we've covered the hips. All right. One of the best drills for the hips is the fence drill. All right.
I'll do it.
This is where you guys can see it. The fence drill is wonderful where you stand a bat's length away from the fence, all right, and you take your swing. And if you're doing it right, if your hips are going first, foot, and the hips are going good, then your swing plane is going to be out in front. If you're not rotating your hips, you're going to hit the fence because that means your swing plane is back here a little bit more. So I'll do it. I'm in the on-deck circle of our softball games, and I'll get right here and I'll take a few swings where I really emphasize rotation. All right, your hips got to go first, and then that will put you into good swing plane. Then you're going to make contact with the softball out in front. because your hips got to go first. They've got to go before the hands. All right, let's talk about the hands. Grip we'll talk about a little bit later, overlap, you know, this, that, and the other thing. But let's start with hand location. I've already seen a couple over there. There's 3 different locations. There's high hands, all right? There's medium hands, and then there's low hands. Ted Williams, one of the greatest hitters that ever lived, had low hands. And when asked, why do you keep your hands so low, he says, because the baseball is usually between my knees and my waist. All right, so that's in baseball. He got away with the low hands. There's people that teach low hands, uppercut. All right, that's great for a home run swing, but it's taught. So let's talk about swing plane. All right, then the swing plane is usually dictated by where your hands start. So here it is. If we've got low hands, or if you drop your hands, all right, if you drop your hands, you could start good, but where are you when your front foot hits the ground? Some of you actually get here. If you start with low hands and the ball's coming in softball here, you're going to have to swing up at the ball. All right? If we swing up at the softball and we hit it perfectly good, it's going to go on that same swing plane. It's going to go up. So you better be real strong. If you're going to hit it up, you better be strong enough to hit it out. Okay? You understand that? The other part of the uppercut swing, if you swing up and you're a little off, a little early, you'll hit the top, or you'll hit the front of the ball. And if you hit the front of the ball, it creates what kind of spin? Top spin. In softball, we call that the humpback. Is that a good thing?
Sometimes.
It is if you get it in the air.
Get some of the shots up.
If you get it in the air with top spin, it comes down nicely. It's like playing ping pong. You put top spin on it, it goes over the net, and all of a sudden it gets just down into the table. Very nice. All right? It's nice to have a humpback swing, but you don't want to live with it, because now if you're a hair earlier than that, it becomes a routine ground ball. Okay? So if you're strong enough to hit it out, that's what the people will teach. They'll teach you to drop those hands, swing up at the ball, and take that nice uppercut where you start low and you finish high. But you better have enough power to hit it out of there if you square it up perfect. All right? The next one is what I like to say, repeat after me, up, back, and in.
Up, back, and in.
What am I referring to? I'm referring to my hands to my shoulder. We want our hands up to the shoulder, back to the shoulder, and in towards the shoulder. This is where I'll hit from. This is nice and comfortable right here. And from here, what kind of swing plane do you think I'm going to have from here?
Slightly down. Level.
Level.
More level. A lot more level. So just picture, if the ball's coming down a little bit at an angle, 6-footer to 12-footer, and you're swinging level at it, you've got a chance to hit it either backspin. If you're a little early, you're going to hit it with backspin. If you're right on time, what are you going to hit? The knuckleball, which isn't going to travel very far, but it's a little harder to catch. And if you're a little late, you're going to hit the top of the ball, and that becomes a one-hopper. I like those three. I like those three options. All right, you've either got this, this, or this. That's better than this and this. So the uppercut gets you this and this. The level swing gets you these three right here.
What's the takeaway, guys? Like we said, we're not going to look to change everybody's swing, but this is a game of numbers. We're after on-base percentage, right? The odds of the game not to make an out. Whether it's a walk, that's a hit in softball, or I hit something hard enough that somebody can't field it, that's still on-base percentage. That's the number, on-base percentage. It's not batting average, it's on-base percentage. That's the key number, okay? That's what me and Bob and Roger spend thousands of dollars every year betting on. Who's going to have the best on-base? We had some great, Roger, you weren't part of that because you missed last month. But no, you were there. You weren't in our house, though. We had an hour and 15 minutes
Yes,
between
we did.
me, Bob, and Ed Starcher. We were all chasing the little title, and we had some great stuff. But anyway, let's get back to serious stuff. Here's the takeaway. You've heard low, you've heard middle. Sorry I interrupted, but I couldn't help myself. We know what's coming with high. What gives us our most chance of success to start out with? What's that?
Your new bat.
Besides this bat.
Minus 5 push-ups. This guy's a quick learner.
I just look stupid.
Look at it. I mean, something in here right around your shoulder level, okay? Mid-range. That gives us the opportunity of hitting those three balls, which gives us the most opportunity of getting on base. Does it make sense?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Sometimes a little education can help us be better hitters. Scotty?
Seems like an appropriate time to ask the question.
Sure.
I get a lot of opinions. I got a lot of memorabilia home. Okay? What I'm talking about
Softball
is elbows.
memorabilia?
Elbows. Some guys want it here, some guys want it up. Some guys want your top shoulder up, distance from the, it gets confusing
Yes,
to
it
me.
does.
If you
Yes.
listen to everybody, they'll drive you crazy.
Correct.
You guys seem to know.
I'm gonna nail it right now.
Please.
Nail it, Bob.
Nice segue, Scotty. I'm gonna pay you for that later.
We would buy lunch, but obviously we can't afford it.
All right, let me go to the high hands first, and then we're going to talk about the elbows because they're very important. All right. Last but not least is the guy that likes to hit with the high hands, or the girl. All right. With the high hands, the only place we can go from here is
Down
into the ball a little bit. Not a bad thing, because if we come down into the ball, we've got a better chance of spinning it, of creating that backspin.
Brazil.
And that's the ball that's really going to go. And it's also not bad because the pitch is coming. You'll see the high hands with the hitter that likes to stand up in the front of the box, that likes to hit the high pitch. They'll go with the high hand. All right? I get in a home run derby, which changes my swing totally. All right? And what we tend to start doing in a home run derby is we start getting here and we start wanting to just hit it as far as we can, and I end up hitting all these humpbacks. So I have to tell myself, home run derby, all I really want to do is spin it. If I can get backspin on it, then I got a chance of getting it out of the ballpark. So I'll have to get myself away from my regular base hit swing to, all right, I want to spin a couple. So I have to go away from what I think I need to do, which is drop and lift. All right? So then I'll try to go just a little bit higher, and I'll really work on trying to give me a little bit of a downward plane and try to hit down in below the center of the ball and really get that nice tight backspin on it. All right? But my body's telling me to do the other thing, drop and lift, drop and lift. So it's a totally different swing, and it all depends on, at our level, whether there's runners on base and we're swinging for the home run, or are we trying to keep it in the ballpark, okay? So the high hands will help you create, just think about that. If you're coming down into it and you're a little early, you're gonna hit just below the center of the ball, which creates the backspin. If I do hit it square with this cut, it's a knuckleball again, and it's probably a one-hop knuckleball, which isn't a bad thing, all right? But if I'm uppercutting and I'm late, I'm gonna hit it down into the ground. It's going to be about a 6-hopper.
But what happens to the guy that has high hands that really doesn't have the power game? When I say power this time, I'm talking about either burning an outfield or hitting it over, potential of hitting it over 300-foot fence. What happens?
F7.
Thank
Routine fly ball.
you. There you go.
Routine fly ball.
Routine fly ball.
All right,
Gets
so
us
now-
right back to the center.
Now let's talk about the relationship with the elbows, all right? For so many years, especially in Little League Baseball, we're sitting there and Dad's in the crowd, and Dad was taught, get your elbow up, Johnny, get your elbow up, get your elbow up. All right, I want you to look what happens to my, let me go one more step and then I'll get to that. Bat angle, all right, bat angle. There's this, and there's this, all right? I'll accept 2 out of 3. Which ones do you think I'll accept?
That one and the one with it
This
slightly
one
above the
and
shoulder.
This one.
Not straight
This
up.
one I don't like. All right? This one I don't like. The reason I don't like straight up and down is because once that bat gets going, if you're going to try to get on a swing plane, here's the swing plane for that. Ready? That's it. And we're not going to swing in any balls down here. That's a golf swing. We're not going to do that. All right? This helps dictate. If you start here and then try to go to here and then here, it doesn't happen. What usually happens is once you start with this one, it continues on. All right? It'll start down and then it becomes an uppercut. All right? This one does. So if we're trying to swing level at the ball, all right, and hit somewhere close to the center of the ball, we want to get what we call 45-degree angle. Because watch this. If I start at this angle right here and I go to swing, now I get hands slightly above the barrel. That's not a bad swing. It's not a bad swing. Okay? Because it's here to here. All right? It transitions well to it. The barrel doesn't drop at all. What we don't want is we don't want this barrel to start dropping because we lose control of it. You have to control your barrel. Your right hand controls the barrel. Your brain is telling you where to throw that barrel to. If you can't control your barrel, it's pot luck every time you swing. You don't know where you're making contact or where the ball's going. You with me on that? You have to know where the barrel's going. How do we practice that? Hitting off of a tee. If you can't hit off of a tee, you're not going to be able to play this game.
You don't know where your barrel's going.
Because if you're missing it off the tee, that means your barrel's not going where your eyes are telling it to go. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
So that's why we do tee work. So we know that the connection between our eyes and our barrel is good. All right? So a flat bat is okay, because with the flat bat, and who,
Brad.
Brad really had a nice flat bat, all right, even tapping the shoulder, and that's good. That's okay, because from here, I've got a nice level swing plane. The barrel's not going to drop at all from the shoulder. So on the shoulder or slightly above the shoulder is fine. Now watch what happens, Scotty, when my dad is in the crowd and he tells me, Coach has got me here. Dad says get your elbow up. Watch what happens, ready? Look what happened to the bat. All right, now that's called a bat wrap. Now that barrel's got to go from here to here, and it takes a whole lot longer because I just took my barrel farther away from the ball. All because of my elbow going up. Watch what happens, ready? If I hit, and there's some, watch what that elbow does anyway, ready? When I go to swing, watch.
Tucks right in.
Where's it go anyway?
Where it belongs.
It comes right down here next to the ribs.
Why not start there?
Why not start there? We want to eliminate any unnecessary actions because they cause awkwardness and fatigue.
Remember that, what he just said.
Eliminate any unnecessary
actions in the swing. I'll further go on with that.
Okay? So, ideally, I call these chicken wings. We don't eat with chicken wings. Repeat after me. If your elbows had eyes,
Your elbows had
they'd
eyes.
be looking at the ground.
They'd be looking at the
All
ground.
right? So if your hands are comfortable right here, all right, those elbows, look at, they're rested. It's an upside down V. Upside down V. All right? You with me? And then this is going to stay here anyway. Watch what that thing does when I swing. All right? It comes through right next to my ribs, and that helps me keep my hands inside the ball. All right? Everybody with me on that?
Yeah.
So great question. This causes trouble. It causes the bat wrap. Okay? A lot of you guys want to do this. Do you think this is good for a swing?
No.
Negative.
No. It causes awkwardness and fatigue. And now you don't know where it's going to be when the foot hits the ground. So keep it simple. Right here, that foot hits the ground, I'm in a good, what we call launching position. Okay? I'm in a good launching position right here. You with me? So that's the swing plane. And then the last is the head. You've got to try to keep your head still as possible. And the biggest thing we talk about that is we go from shoulder to shoulder. Your chin goes from shoulder to shoulder. So in your stance, if you're looking at the ball, all right, your chin is over your front shoulder. After you take a really nice swing, look where my chin is. It's over my back shoulder.
Remember that.
So your chin goes from shoulder to shoulder. Here's what some of us want to do. We want to hit with the shoulders. Did I mention the shoulders at all? Did I say?
You skipped them.
Yeah, it's foot, hips. If I take my head and I yank my head, the shoulder goes with it. And what's the problem when we open up early like that? What have we done?
Lost all your power.
We've changed our swing plane, and now we can only hit the inside pitch. Because we opened up, our swing plane is here. It's out in front, but it's all pull. I'm not going to be able to hit the pitch that's out away from the plate. All right, so you want to keep your head still, and you want to keep it over your start over your front shoulder and finish over your back shoulder. So your chin goes from shoulder to shoulder.
Does backloading, with like this, picking up the foot a lot and moving back, does that cause the head to bounce too much and throw you off?
I don't know. Watch my head. Yeah, it's not too bad. Okay. What really makes the head move is when you want to jump at the ball. The hardest thing about the stride is separating what we call separate stride from glide. You want to be able to get your foot down and still be back. When do we move forward with our? When do we move forward? When does the linear motion take place? With the swing. It goes with the hands. Okay? You don't want to go with the stride. If you get here and go with the stride, now your weight's on your front side and all you got left is your hands as well. We don't see that in softball as much as we do in baseball. But yeah, you want to keep your weight on your backside. And again, I would work more on rotary motion than linear motion. Sure, we want that extra 15%. That might be the difference between a warning track and a home run. So we do want to have some forward movement, some linear motion, but we don't want to emphasize it and be jumping at the softball. Okay? Any questions on that?
Just to follow up, low or flat pitch, okay? We're up here, we've dropped our foot. You're up here, okay? Are we adjusting with legs or are we adjusting with arms?
You are adjusting with your hands. It's a fine line.
It depends. If it's a short pitch, if you've been fooled by a short pitch,
I'm just saying like full count.
okay,
You know what I mean? You think something's flat, the umpire's useless.
That's here, okay? But it's close enough that you've decided you're going to swing. You
do
might have
go
to.
down.
You're going to have to take your body down slightly with that to go down. If you take the bat to the ball, down in front like that, and you stay in your normal position, look what happens to your swing plane. Even when everything else is right, you've done everything right, your hands have been good, everything's right, but you've selected a bad pitch. How many times on this field I yell at you guys, hit strikes, right? You're going to do push-ups if you don't, okay? What happens if I don't? If I don't, look at the bat plane. You can't help but swing like this. What's going to happen?
Nothing good.
It's a fly ball most of the time, okay? Now, again, we don't advocate this for every swing. This is just this is advanced learning. This is in chapter 23, chapter S. We're in chapter introductions right now. But no, it's a good question. Let's address it. So what you might have to do is a little of both. You might have to slightly bend this knee, slightly. You don't want to do this and give up all of this motion. You don't want to give up all the rotation to go all linear. But if you want to get your bat anywhere close to level, you're going to have to slightly go down. At least I can look. I'm pretty close to level here, and I've only bent my leg 1 or 2 inches. Okay, so that's a good advanced question, Scott. We'll deal with that later too.
A lot of you compare softball to baseball. Baseball, you're going to be down low.
Yeah.
That's how they teach you.
Right.
Softball, big guys like you, they stand up straight, and they just simplify the swing. It's from here to here. Very, very little. If you take the thinking out of this game, it really becomes easy. From here down, we're all great ball players. Here up, it really separates the guys who play.
Yes.
So I'm going to give you a number. It's a great comment, Roger. I'm going to give you a number. Here's another famous saying. In hitting, in softball, it's 50% mental and 50% physical, and the rest is mental. Okay? Do the math. One other little thing that you said, Scott, I have this guy telling me this and that guy telling me this and this guy da-da-da-da-da-da. We all have that. Everybody's well-meaning. I'm going to tell you that there's very few people in this country that really know and understand how to break down a softball swing. Very few. Everybody's well-meaning. Everybody thinks they have the idea, but many, many times, I've heard it a billion times in my life of guys that say, keep your elbow up, stuff like, from what they heard in Little League. Guess what? Softball and baseball swings have similarities, but they're two different things. Okay, we're here to teach you about the softball swing.
Well, you got to know why. Why? You guys are smart now. Why? Because the softball's coming in from up here, and as a pitching coach, I teach my guys to throw the ball where? At the knees. At the knees, at the knees, at the knees. In softball, we're rarely ever going to hit a ball that's down at our knees. So it's totally different swing mechanics to hit the ball at the knees versus the one we're hitting most of our pitches where? About chest high.
Chest high is what we want.
And that's a ball in baseball. It's not a strike. So
is that how high your tee should be when you're practicing?
Yes.
It should be elevated way more than baseball. Yeah, you should be hitting balls here. Depending on where you're hitting the ball on the field, you can adjust that a little bit.
All right, we're going to move into the next one. And again, I have these printed out for you. So everything we just went over is on paper, and you'll get a copy of this. And then there's 8 more topics. And we're going to start with a couple of them right now. I'm going to let Alan take over. We're talking about the batter's box and landscaping. All right?
Okay.
And how to utilize, and this is a softball thing versus baseball, how to utilize this batter's box depending on what you want. Do you want to go opposite field? Where would you stand? If the wind's blowing out to left, where would you stand? If there's 2 strikes on you, where do you stand? Do you stand different with 2 strikes than you do with none?
I do.
Yes, you do. If you're trying to keep it in the park, where do you stand? If you're trying to elevate and hit it out of the park, where do you stand? All right, huge advantage in softball. As a hitter, you can make every pitch an inside pitch. You can make every pitch an outside pitch, just by where you stand in the box. So Alan's going to cover
Bob,
that.
since
Before
you're
you
right.
get started, Alan, hold on a second. One thing is, you know, when you get started here, it's not starting you're at bat in the box itself. It should be starting it right here.
Amen.
Here's where you're starting. You're watching the pitcher. If you got a pitcher that's throwing 12 to 14 feet, guess what? You're not going to be in front of the box. You're going to be in back of the box. Unfortunately, a lot of us are leadoff hitters. We've got to kind of educate everybody else. But
what can you do?
It starts
What can you do
back
in
here.
that instance if you're
Watch
a
their
first or second
practice.
hitter? How about
Watch their warm up.
this is thank you, Roger. That was thank you, because those two comments right there, what Bob just said, kind of set up exactly what I was going to tell you, and now you kind of know what you're about to get into. But this is a combination of the mental part of hitting, of becoming a great hitter, as well as physical. This combines some things. If we do the right things mentally, it helps the physical part to be more successful. Okay? So what Roger said in the batter's box, what Bob said. A lot of this stuff is done and should be done before you get in the batter's box. In fact, 99% of what we're talking about right now should be done before that. You should be watching a pitcher, if he's on the mound, in bat, and when he's pitching before the game, and seeing if you're picking up any tendencies of him. Okay, is he throwing the ball more flat than you're used to? Is he throwing it higher and deeper? Is he hitting the back edge of the mat a lot? Is he hitting the front edge of it? Okay, what is he doing? Okay, back in the day, every hitter in Major League Baseball used to have a little black book, right? They knew all the pitcher's tendencies. They knew what he liked to do here and here and here and here. And guess what? All the pitchers had the same little black book on all the hitters, right? Well, now we've got video. I mean, think about what those guys got at their fingertips every day. They can do a study of when Bob O'Brien is up in the 6th inning and the barometric pressure is below 72%. What is he capable of doing? Okay, what's he going to do more? I mean, really, you can, with the data they have now, it's amazing what they have at their fingertips.
It's ridiculous, actually.
It is. And it can be overdone a little bit. It can make you think too much. But look, this is something that I'll bet most of you have never been subjected to or thought about. Like Roger said, before you ever get in that batter's box, these things need to be determined in your head what it is you're going to do here. You can't be thinking too much in here. If you're thinking too much in here, guess what? You're probably not going to be as successful as you would as if you had a clear head.
As Yogi once said, you can't think and hit at the same time.
You can't. I like to say, what Alan likes to say is you really can only be thinking of one thing. I'm going to give you one thing, okay? And that might be the one thing that you may or may not have been doing or whatever, or to remind yourself, because now you have a plethora of 3x5 cards in your head that we have created already today. You should have a card catalog file. You guys are all old, and you all know what that is. You all had to visit to the library in 6th grade, and you met the librarian, and she taught you about that. And now you've got a softball card catalog file. And every one of these topics that we're talking about should have a catchphrase to remind you what's on that file. What's in that book? Do you understand? Start creating them. You're not going to remember it all. When you go to lunch, write some stuff down. Trust me, you're not going to remember. At the end of the day, write some stuff down. You're not going to remember. All right? That's a little mental thing to help you become a better athlete. So getting back to this practical application, we've now watched the pitcher. You should have, in the batter's box, a go-to spot. Many times you're going to watch a pitcher and you can't really see any I mean, look, it's underhand. There's only so much you can do with the ball underhand, okay? Maybe you don't see any real pattern. You know, he's throwing some high, he's throwing some short, he's throwing some deep, whatever. He's just pitching, okay? So where is my go-to spot? Where am I most comfortable? Have a go-to spot. We'll help you develop that, okay? My pretty much go-to spot is pretty much, right in here. Okay, so I'm setting up to hit right in here. But before I even get set to hit, there's another little thing we're going to teach you about. All of you are going to become landscapers today. Okay, this is what I call doing my landscaping. How many times you've been to a batter's box that's got holes in it, dips in it, soft, full of sand, whatever, okay? And we just get in and we go get ready to hit. You might be standing like this because you're on, or you might be standing like that you've changed your whole batting posture. You put yourself at a deficit. You've given yourself an opportunity to fail before you even started. Have a routine called the landscape routine. Time out, Mr. Trump. I'll let you know when I'm ready. I'll give you a verbal. Bob, how many times have I yelled at the umpire? I wasn't ready.
Oh, yeah?
Because I've told him.
Oh,
I forewarned him. I get in and I do my landscaping. Okay? If I need to fill in a hole, whatever I need to do to have myself to be comfortable. Here's a critical thing. Yes, Scotty.
Yeah. Hi, Mr. Tanner.
This is my dad.
And there's your mom.
everybody. Hi, Mom. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Fan club.
Yeah.
I have to pay them too. All right. So, but now, what do we learn about our front foot?
That's a good landing spot.
Land.
Nothing happens until that foot comes down. What if we don't fix our landscaping where I'm going to land?
Got a hole.
Many times. I mean, look here. This is a halfway decent batter's box, but I mean, we can't get it totally level. We're not going to pull out a laser and, get it graded, okay? But we can at least get this here and compact it a little bit so that we have a firm spot. So, how many times have you done this? Does that screw up your swing? Absolutely.
You just
it
lost
does.
energy, didn't you?
Absolutely it
Lost
does.
energy.
Anytime that foot is implanted, you have detrimentally taken away from your energy. Okay? So do your landscaping. Call time out. Make sure it's right. Okay? I'm going to quickly go over, this kind of reinforces a little bit of what Bob has talked about, and it's going to go a little bit more detail. I'm going to talk to you about the 3 most major things that we see people that do wrong, okay, in hitting. And let me tell you that Bob and I and Roger sometimes do these things wrong. But we know that the masses do them wrong frequently. So let's talk about it. Number 1, we're going to talk about what Roger called the hitting zone. I call it the impact zone. Same thing. This is roughly what I'm going to call the impact zone. There's a difference between baseball and softball, right? About 80 miles an hour.
Yeah.
Ball coming in 80 miles an hour, all we got to do is meet it, right? We can just meet it here, somewhere around there. If we're successful 3 times out of 10, we'll make, about 22 million probably on average, something like that. Okay? In softball, the ball's coming in 12 miles an hour, 13 miles an hour? We have to provide the power. Now remember, when we're talking about power, I like to back up. We're not always talking about home runs. We're talking about hitting the ball hard. The harder we can hit the ball, the more successful we are. Because either I hit something that can't be fielded, or I hit something that gets in a hole, or in a gap, or maybe over the fence, if that's part of your game. Okay, so that's what we're after. It's translating that power, that energy, rotationally, like Bob talked about linearly. But how do I get that? Most of the time, when I coach people and I watch them, no matter where they're standing in the box, many, many times they're impacting balls back in here. Look at my arms. Are they fully extended? Absolutely not. Remember in 7th grade physics, we talked about levers? The longer the lever, the more leverage. The longer the lever, the more leverage. The more bat speed we have, the longer the lever. If our hands are back in here, okay, when we're hitting balls back in here, my arms are not extended, guess what? I have slightly decelerated my bat before impact. In your mind, you have to think about accelerating through impact. I'm going to tell you another old age example that you guys will all understand. How big, I can't do this when I'm teaching kids. They don't know what I'm talking about. How big was the New York City Yellow Pages in 1987? Pretty thick, right?
Yeah.
Big. The ball is that. You got to swing through it. Acceleration happens on impact, okay? If you're hitting balls back in here, or sometimes you can be hitting balls in the impact zone and not getting fully extended, and I'll show you why in a second, you're not getting to your maximum bat speed no matter what that is, okay? So it could be 80 miles an hour, it could be 100 miles an hour, it could be 60, whatever it is, we want you at your maximum potential, okay? This will mess up your timing, trust me. This is a perfect example of, under construction, how you can feel really weird. It has to be gotten used to. The guys on our field, I saw plenty of them not hitting balls in the impact zone. Roger, could you give me 3 balls real quick? So that's the number 1 thing that well, actually one of the major things that I see. Okay, does anybody have any questions? Do you understand that? Yes.
So I don't do that. I'm going to try for sure.
Right.
But
Yes, you
in
don't.
my mind, that's going to, hitting it way out there is going to send it to left field. No, it doesn't.
No.
I'm going to teach you why it doesn't happen. That's a great question.
No, it does not.
Okay, so I'm going to over-exaggerate slightly. And what these balls represent is an inside pitch, down the middle pitch, and an outside pitch. Okay? I'm going to get to standing in the batter's box. We're going to jump back to that in a second after I finish this. But let's just say that I'm standing in my normal position. I haven't identified anything, totally different about a pitcher or whatever. Okay, the farther in the pitch is, and we all are great hitters, and we all only hit strikes, right? Say yes.
Yes.
Yes, coach.
Yes.
Remember, on my field, you guys learned that. For the guys who are on the other field, the greatest 2 words you can learn this weekend are yes, coach. It can prevent you a lot of pain.
Yes.
Okay, so the farther in, the farther out. Everybody say that. The farther
In,
the
farther out.
The farther inside the pitch is, the farther out in the impact zone I must hit it. So to get to your point, I can hit balls in the impact zone here. Look at the direction of my barrel. Where's it going? It's going up the middle of the field, right?
Middle.
Am I extended? Did I do everything right? Am I extended? I'm not
Yeah.
extended?
Yeah, you're
I'm extended.
I was waiting for you to go around before I said that.
Well, no, I mean, are my arms, am I in a V here? My arms aren't like this.
No.
I don't have any bends anywhere. I'm extended. Look at the direction of my barrel. That pitch has come down the middle of the plate, and that gets us into another thing of, which we'll talk later about, is hitting balls where they're pitched. Where's Gary? Did you learn that yesterday? Spades. Did it work? All the time. All, unbelievable. Okay, yes, coach. Okay, outside ball. Okay. Am I extended?
Yeah.
Where's that ball going? Right field. Do I answer your question? It's all about where you meet the ball and in the right place. If you notice, all of them, I can squish the bug on. See the rotation? I've got rotational. It's the most important. This is partially linear, but it's certainly the rotation comes into play too. You see, that we want to focus on the 85%, but we don't want to forget about the 15%, right? You don't want to forget about anything. We know that this is most critical, but this is also very, very important, okay? If we don't do this and get out here, we've lost part of what we're after, okay? Does everybody understand what we're talking about?
Go ahead and get back in your stance, Alan. The reason he's got to hit the inside pitch while it's here is what if he waits till it gets here? Now go ahead and finish.
Foul ball.
Look at the elbows.
Or, now let me tell you what happens
That's
here.
called getting jammed, right?
Let me tell you what happens here, guys. We all know, our brain knows that we want to hit the ball here, right? Let me tell you what's going to happen. Probably 8.5 times out of 10 for you guys, if you did that, this is what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Look where this foot ended up. What did I just do? I negated all of this, and that gets me into the second most common problem that I see when I coach people is, and this gets back into Bob's discussion too, of keeping your head on the ball. What do I mean by that? Keeping my head on the ball. Before I travel from this, does anybody have any more questions about this? Everybody understand what we're talking about?
One thing I do want to bring up is if you see his front foot go down, no matter which ball he was swinging at, inside, middle, out, his foot landed within a couple of inches, and all he did was make the adjustment with what we just talked about, Scotty, with his hands.
Yep. If you watch me swing, I can make a box like this, okay? I can hit all 3 of those pitches 10 times each, and my foot's going to be here. Here. It might be slightly here if I get fooled a little bit. It might be slightly here on a way outside pitch, but mainly my foot's going to be within that box. It's not going to be that big of a change.
And when you see him stands up, I mean, his stance is this way here. He's opened up a little bit, but like a golfer, his front foot's also opened up. He's not closed up. What this allow you to do? Not going to hit the inside pitch. So he opens up a little bit, helps his hips open up when he does swing.
Anybody else? Yes, I have a question. Yes, sir.
If you have a habit of hitting the ball as it reaches the plate instead of out front, how can you make that change?
Great question. Great question. You want to know the easiest way to do it? And I'm going to take all your excuses away from you. A batting tee. Okay, good. We use it the right way.
With the
Because
tee in
most
front of
people,
you.
I
when
have
they're
it way
using a
out
batting
front.
tee, they don't set it up there.
I put it out
They
front.
set it over here.
Yeah.
And that's baseball.
Yeah.
Guess what? You just learned something that probably 9 guys
Yeah,
that you
sit
talk
up,
to
sure.
don't know.
Sure.
Yeah.
You don't set a batting tee back here like with baseball. Okay? You set it out in front so you can mimic this. And then if you're going to work on hitting the inside pitch, and you have the tee set up here, and you're going to move back and up slightly, and you're in the box, then you can impact balls out here like this. If you want to mimic hitting the middle pitch, you back off the ball a little bit, and you're here. You want to mimic this pitch, back here, and you're here. Guess what? I've just actually simulated real life pitching in my backyard. And I don't need anybody else to do it. So guess what, guys? All you need is a tee and a screen, and you can hit all day long, all winter long. I don't care if you live in Canada.
And you can simulate the outside pitch.
Absolutely.
Yes.
You see
That's
how-
what's
you see
so
that?
great about tees is you can simulate the high pitch or the lower pitch, the inside pitch or the outside pitch. So if you know your weakness is the outside pitch, you put the tee out here on the outside corner, back in the impact zone a little bit, and you practice it. But what you're talking about is more, it's also timing.
Yeah, that's not.
It's
I think
also
more
timing. You've got to
This is going to mess your timing up.
You've got to let
the
this
beginning.
ball travel a little bit farther. The pitch to hit that way, you got to let it get deeper. Okay? The inside pitch, you got to hit it earlier. If you
Yeah.
don't, you're going to get jammed. So it's timing as well. It's
Yeah, 'cause that's my problem. I get jammed on the inside pitch.
You just got a big epiphany, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you comment on approaching the pitcher, the batter, and turning your hips back, waiting for the ball?
Well, this is what that's an overall posture thing, which I don't overemphasize, but when I'm in the box, what I try to coach people is I don't want to see anything glaringly weird. You know, these things. It's more things that can possibly go wrong in the swing. I like the swing as simple as possible. You all heard of KISS, keep it simple, stupid, right? Well, Bob touched on that with where he had his hands. Remember how we talked about swing playing, not having hands like this, not having hands like this. You know, if our hands are right here, remember we talked about that kind of middle ground? The next thing I like to talk about is quick to the ball, quick through the ball. Because when that pitcher lets go of the ball, I'm sitting here like this, I'm loading, here's my swing. That's my swing, you just saw it. That's all there is to it, right? The less movement, the less can go wrong, okay? So one of the things I will talk to you about since you brought that up is, what I like to do, if you notice my back foot, this is neutral, straight like this facing the plate. This is a little bit above neutral. You guys try this in the batter's box, you'll find out this gets to hip position, which was your original question. This automatically cocks your hip, this back hip. I'm right-handed, so left-hander. It's the back foot we're talking about, okay? You can feel, I did this to one of the girls at we were guest instructors at camp a few weeks ago. And the second day of practice, she came to me and goes, my butt and my hip is so sore from hitting like that. I said, because you're firing the muscles properly now. You know, she was like this. She never ever, when she swung, when she dragged her foot, she was hitting balls out here, but she wasn't using any of this, okay? She was just using linear motion mainly instead of rotational. So if I have just a tiny bit of cock to this toe here, and I have a little bit, maybe 65, 70% of weight back here, I'm cocked and ready to go. That ball comes, I'm watching it, boom, done. It's that quick, okay? So play with that. I'm going to talk a little bit more about that posture later, but good question.
5 minutes, Coach. 5
Okay,
minutes.
let's finish up on this. This is critical. This one, Bob touched on it when we talked about his shoulder. And what do we talk about shoulder as far as emphasis?
Not much.
And not much, right? Okay, but here's the deal. We all want to hit the ball hard. We all want to kill it. We all want to hit it past somebody, through somebody, over into the next county. We get a little ahead of ourselves, and the ball comes in, and our shoulder opens, and our head follows it. Okay, look at my head. That ain't where your head's supposed to be. What did he talk about keeping your head still?
Shoulder to
You
shoulder.
keep your head on the ball, shoulder to shoulder, okay? When you do that, you don't realize it, but at impact, you're really only seeing the ball hit the bat with one eye. You got plenty of time to find out where the ball's going after you hit it, okay? You'd be amazed if you really focus today on keeping your head and eye on the ball, actually impacting the bat. It sounds so elementary, but I'm going to tell you, my biggest resort back to childhood problem is, I've hit a couple balls really hard. I might have hit a home run or two, and the next one I'm hitting it 500 feet. And guess what happens? This is what happens. I'm going to kill this one. Oh, shoot, I mishit it. You see my head? Consequently, this is what my head should look like. You ever watch any of my videos? Hopefully I do it right. But most of the time, I think you'll see ball's coming in. Your head has to travel with the ball a little bit on high arc, comes back down. See the difference?
Yeah.
Any golfers here?
Alan does it real well, and when we get a chance to hit for you later, Alan does it real well. He really keeps his head down on the ball really nice.
I almost overemphasize it.
Yeah, so that chin will finish. We have sometimes what we call no peak batting practice, where we'll have our guys hit and not watch and see where it goes. And that really will help you hit it and just stay right here. Don't worry about where it's going. So try that sometimes. If we tell you that you're a head yanker, then we'll say, all right, I don't want you to, hit it and don't look and see where it goes. And that'll really help you keep that head, your eyes down and your head on the ball.
Okay, so impact zone, head on ball. Two huge things, huge components. Put that in your 3x5s. The third one is not quite as important. I'm going to do another session in that. But these two things right here are absolutely critical. Don't forget the landscaping part as well. That prepares us for our success. Okay? Remember what Bob talked about. We talked about too. Roger, all of us, front foot's got to plant, rotate. Last little story I'll tell you is, you guys don't know this, but last night, each of you, I had a camera lens impregnated in your belly button. Okay? You don't even feel it. Modern science. When you're done swinging, you should be taking a picture of the pitcher. Say that with me. A picture of the pitcher.
With your belly button.
With your belly button, right? Because that's where your camera. It's not a wide angle lens. It's a narrow lens. I thought the wide angle wouldn't have fit good in some of your belly buttons. Okay, here we go. Ball's coming in, up, down, boom. Here's my lens. Here's the pitcher.
And look at the back toe.
Look at back toe.
Squeeze
Squeeze the bug, rotation. Had rotational going, had linear going, ball out in front of impact zone. See how that works together? Okay? If you find that you're doing this, what have you done with your hips? You've locked them out. Now you've used them maybe 15%, you've used your upper body 85%. It's the other way around, guys and girls. Okay? If you step out, take a picture over there. Remember, we're going to take a picture of the pitcher with your belly button. Okay? Any questions?
All right, we're going to save the rest for a rainy day tomorrow, but hopefully this is good stuff. You're putting it away. Again, we'll give you the cheat sheet to take home with you, and you can add notes to it. You'll have homework tonight. We want you to add some notes to it on your own. All right, going to give you a couple minutes, get a quick drink, and then we're going to go into position fundamentals. Today is your primary position. We have three things. We got outfielders, we got infielders, and we got pitchers. All right, so today go to your primary position, and then tomorrow we'll let you go to your secondary position, the other position that you play.